Hey everyone, happy Sunday to you. I hope all is well. I hope you've had some time to settle into the class and kind of get your bearings here, understand how it works. So I'll do these videos weekly in most weeks, but it looks like we have an extremely small class. There's only 3 of us right now, so I hope that changes, but if it doesn't, we'll work our way through it. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. So I wanted everybody to be aware. So it's really important that you guys really follow through on your assignments, as this class is really built heavily on discussion boards. And so you're going to learn from each other. And so you really have to do your best to get those in on time and, respond accordingly. I think in the smaller setting, it gives us more time to interact back and forth. So that should be a good thing. I wanted to address something with the syllabus quiz. All of you missed the same question, and it is the papers can be turned in at half credit late. That's true. DBs and quizzes cannot be turned in late, and all of this is highlighted in your syllabus. But your papers can be turned in anytime for half credit. I'll grade them. So if you would have got a 80, for example, you'll only get a 30. Right, but they'll start at half credit, and then you can just turn them in on time, and you won't have that issue. But as I mentioned in the syllabus video, this class repeats itself: DB quiz, DB paper, DB quiz, DB paper, right? And so you did your first DB on your introductions, and it was nice to meet everybody and get to know what kind of moved you toward this profession or this licensure or this course, right? Not everybody's trying to be an LCDC, and that's okay. Because I think this information will prove to be very valuable no matter what you're trying to do. Because there's not too many areas of life that substance use disorders haven't touched, whether directly or indirectly. So this information should prove to be value no matter what part of the helping profession you choose to be involved in. So that said, you read chapter 2 this week, and on what is SUD, it kind of gave you some insight. What does that look like though? Like criteria, there's certain criteria that has to be met for a person to have a substance use disorder, right? And there's a PDF copy of the DSM in 1305 in your resources in there. It's outdated. It's the old one. It's not the updated one. But the criteria for substance use disorder didn't change. So that'll work for you in there. You need to get to know that criteria. That's something you'll have to know. You don't have to know it for this class, but you do need to know it. Also, the rules and regulations from the state of Texas that govern the LCDC license are in your resources. You need to get to know those as well. Again, not for this class, but for your license. That's what governs our license. Many of the bonus points questions that I give come from sources such as the rules and regs outside of class, because it's relative information to your license. So I want you to get familiar with some of those things. Again, there's a host of resources in there I went over, and we'll talk much more about those for the year. But a couple things I really want you to start thinking about right from the jump is, what kind of counselor do you want to be? That was posed to me when I was in graduate school for the first time. And it was a profound question because I'd never really thought about it. I just kind of did what came naturally. I've been in LCDC for 5 or 6 years before I went to graduate school to become a therapist. And it just was never really occurred to me. I don't know. I just did what came naturally. I did what felt right. I did what I was trained to do. But really start considering that. You have professionals that don't pay attention to their language, unfortunately. You have professionals like myself who put an emphasis on language. I'm not a big fan of labels. I think they're necessary, right? I think if I'm talking to another professional, I say, I think this guy's an alcoholic, they know what that means. I don't like that label. I'll never label my clients that. Is there a place for those labels, alcoholic and addict? Sure. I think that language is very antiquated, and I think we know better today. But in a support group such as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, great. That's 100% a part of their norms that they do. And I'm not here to correct that or change that. If a client comes in my office and says, Dan, I'm an alcoholic, or Dan, I'm an addict, I'm not going to say, oh, you can't say that. It's not like that, right? But you'll never hear that from me, because I think it's antiquated, like I said. And I think we want to separate, as clinicians, we want to separate person from disorder. So this is an individual with an alcohol use disorder. This is an individual with a substance use disorder, or a cannabis use disorder, or whatever it is, right? We want to separate that. You don't want to tell someone, hey, that's a schizophrenic. No, you'll never say that. You will always separate person from disorder. That's a person with schizophrenia. This is no different. So I'm really going to challenge you to start coming from a clinical framework, right? Rather than recovery member framework, or using language like alcoholics and addicts. And unfortunately, we have professionals, many of them, that still use that language. And I'm not here to police the field of study or work. I'm just here to offer a perspective that I think works well. Because we want to come from a strength-based perspective. And so again, in those settings of AA, NA, CA, and support group settings, that's 100% understandable. It is Alcoholics Anonymous, or it is Narcotics Anonymous, right? And I have students inevitably argue with me every year about, hey, I needed to be told I was an addict or an alcoholic. Great. I'm not here to discount that. But you're talking about the difference in a self-help setting versus a clinical setting, right? If you come in my office and I start hitting you with alcoholic and addict, most people aren't coming back, right? A lot of my clients come in, they know they have a drinking or drug problem, and they say, I want to change my relationship with it. That tells me immediately, yeah, this person's got a substance use disorder, almost guaranteed, because nobody talks like that. People that don't, they don't use that. I have a relationship problem with it, right? And if I hit these people with, you're an alcoholic or you're an addict, it sounds like, they're not coming back. How have I helped them? I haven't. So we want to start coming from a clinical perspective. So language is important. I'm going to talk about language most weeks in some way, right? You'll never lose points or nothing like that by using that language in this course. But we really do, as clinicians, want to start shifting our language. It matters, right? So if someone comes in my office and they say, I only have 7 days sober, or clean, or whatever language, see where it gets messy. And another person comes in and says, I have 7 days sober. The difference in those two sentences are night and day. Yet there's only one word, and the word only. Language matters, right? It matters. If I come into if you've ever been in a meeting and someone comes in late, and then you're already like, this person's disrupting the meeting. Then they want to start saying, oh, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry I'm late. My first thought is, yeah, we all got here on time. We all live in the same city, same traffic. Be here on time like the rest of us. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's where my mind goes. Now, imagine if that person walks in with gratitude and says, man, thank you for waiting. My first thought is, yeah, man, we probably ran into some traffic. This city sucks, right? Like, it's full of traffic. Like, the difference in that connotation, the event is the same. So but the connotation there is completely different. It changes the whole vibe, right? So language matters. And that matters as to what kind of counselor we want to be, right? Do we want to be that authoritative LCDC that says you have to do AA, NA, CA? Most of our treatment landscape is 12-step based, right? But what about those that aren't 12-step based? You say, oh, sorry, if you don't go to meetings, I can't help you. You have to go to meetings. No, you don't. No, you don't. Remember, we're clinicians. We're not AA members. We're not NA members. So that said, we'll touch much more on that as we go. Again, I hope you found your way through the course pretty well. If you haven't, I have to assume if you don't reach out to me that you have. I'm always available for questions. Like it says in the syllabus, email me. I will get back to you at some point, probably sooner than later. I promise you that. I'll make every effort. So this week's your first quiz on SUD in the family on chapter 23. As you see, we bounce around the book, but we definitely use the book. And SUD in the family, there's not many cases where if a person has a substance use disorder that there's not family conflict in some way, right? We are not family therapists. We don't have to be to work with family. We can work with any group, family counseling, career counseling, mental health counseling, on and on and on. as it relates to the substance use disorder. So while I'm not a family therapist in an LCDC role, I absolutely work with families. A lot of it's educating, a lot of it's guidance and that kind of thing, and setting boundaries, and as it relates to the substance use disorder, right? So keep that phrase in mind with an LCDC. Yes, we might, when you hear people say, see, we have to stay in our lane, or we have to do this, our lane is substance use. And so every member every individual you see as an LCDC, there's some family conflict somewhere, I'm guessing, in most cases. Maybe not every, but most, right? And so we can't ignore that. We can't ignore professional problems. We can't ignore marital problems. We're not relationship counselors. Yet we will work with that, because as it relates to the substance use disorder, right? So SUD touches everything. If a person has a substance use disorder, it touches most everything in their lives. So that said, you got your quiz on here. That'll be this week. Chapter 23, SUD in the Family, Quiz 1. Next week's my favorite model, the biopsychosocial model of addiction. To me, it explains so much. That's week 3. And it'll be your first DB that you have to follow the guidelines. Your initial DB, your introduction, there was no real guidelines there. This one is where you start the 200 to 250 words original post with 2 resources, one being your textbook. So all you need is one more resource, followed by 2 peer responses with 100 to 150 words and 1 resource. It can be your textbook, it can be another resource, whatever you want it to be. The original posts are due on Thursdays, and the follow-up posts are due by Saturdays. That way, if Sunday someone wants to continue the discussion, they have time and they're not up against it, because come Monday, we're on to the next week generally. So be sure, with such a small class, it's important you get those in on time and be respectful of each other. And this is where every semester I get feedback at the end that says that was one of the better parts of the class, is learning from each other. Believe it or not, I know it doesn't sound like it up front, but it is. And again, as I mentioned in the syllabus video, I think it was, that everything we do in this course is designed to help you be a better LCDC, including the word counts in these discussion boards, the diligence and the due dates and those kinds of things. And we'll talk much more about that as we get to know each other along the way. But that's week 3, and then week 4 is your first paper on your 12-step meeting. You can go to AA, NACA, Al-Anon, or ACA, and all those links are in your LCDC resources. And it's a little far, but start planning that, because don't wait till the last week and then can't get into a meeting because you get sick or because of work or any number of reasons, right? Because again, what are you going to do when you have clients? I mean, yeah, we're human, we get sick, but people depend on us. We can't just say, I can't do that because I waited too long until the last minute and then some life stuff came up, right? So be thinking about those things ahead of time. And remember, if you're a member of one of these groups, I'm asking you to go to a different group. I'm going to lean on you to use your recovery principles there, do the right thing. But we'll talk much more about that as we get closer. I just wanted to kind of preview the next couple weeks. This week, your quiz 1 on family and SUD. Next week, your first discussion board on the biopsychosocial, and then week 4 is your first paper, and then it will just repeat itself. Week 5 is a summary DB of your paper. Then it's quiz, DB, paper. So guys, I hope you're settled in, and I want you to know I'm here for you every step of the way. Please email me if you have any concerns, any issues, any questions, anything at all. If at any point throughout the semester you want to set up a Zoom meeting, I'm happy to do that as well. So always reach out to me if I can be of any assistance, guys. We'll talk soon.